Have you ever had a friend who gets a boyfriend or girlfriend and totally checks out from your friendship? They're so consumed with who they are dating that they lose sight of everything else in their life. It happens all the time. It might even be happening to you right now. And if so, I want you to know that you're not alone. This has been a problem for a long time. And today we're going to take a look at someone from the Bible who had this same issue. And in the book of Judges, we see that the Israelites were finally free from slavery. And after some key leaders had died, they didn't have a king, so God gave them judges. Judges were rulers who made decisions for the people that the military would then enforce. One of the last judges and the most well-known judge was a man named Samson. And here's what we know about Samson. Few men in the Bible have exhibited such a contrast of strength and weakness. And we usually just think of his strengths. I mean, he killed a lion with his bare hands. He broke the cords with which the men of Judah had bound him, and he broke loose and killed 1,000 Philistines with the jawbone of a donkey. He escaped from a trap that the Philistines had laid for him and walked away carrying the gates of Gaza. This was a bad man, but we also know that he had one major weakness, his kryptonite, the ladies. Let's take a look. Samson went down to Timnah and saw there a young Philistine woman. When he returned, he said to his father and mother, "I've seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife." His father and mother replied, "Isn't there an acceptable woman among your relatives or among our own people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife?" It's important to know that the Israelites and Philistines weren't friends. So falling for a Philistine woman was like having a crush on the enemy. So his parents questioned his selection process, but Samson didn't care. He said, "Get her for me. She's the right one for me." In other words, I don't care about what you think. I'm gonna do what I want. But before we keep going, we need to know that even though Samson made some huge mistakes, he still cared about his relationship with God. He was even described as a man of great faith. His problem was that when it came to girls, he stopped thinking. He stopped listening to people and using good judgment. Later, he chased another Philistine woman. Sometime later, he fell in love with a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, "See if you can lure him into showing you the secret of his great strength and how we can overpower him so that we may tie him up and subdue him. Each one of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver." So the drama begins. Delilah begs Samson to reveal the source of his strength, but Samson won't talk. "How can you say I love you when you won't confide in me? This is the third time you have made a fool of me and haven't told me the secret of your great strength." With such nagging, she prodded him day after day until he was sick to death of it. Maybe you're reading this and wondering, what is Samson's problem? Delilah is so extra, just dump her and move on. The solution seems simple enough to us, but to Samson it was more complicated. He was confused. He was so wrapped up in his relationship, he couldn't think clearly anymore. And like most people caught up with a personal relationship, the first thing to go was Samson's ability to use good judgment. He stopped thinking. He was driven by his emotions and feelings for Delilah, not his logic. And eventually he gave in. His goals moved from ruling well to making a woman happy. He reveals his secret of his strength, and shocker, Delilah betrays him. She sells him out and tells his enemies as a result. He's captured and tied up near two pillars in a temple courtyard where he eventually dies alongside thousands of Philistines. Not a happy ending. We see a guy with all the potential in the world ruin his life because he stopped thinking. His desire for a certain type of relationship didn't just hurt him in the moment, it destroyed what could have been in his future. If we can learn anything from Samson's story, it isn't to stay away from dating or girls named Delilah. The point is this: dating is great, but thinking is better. Once your thinking takes a backseat to dating, you're in trouble. You could miss out on something amazing or end up in a bad place if in the midst of dating, like Samson, you lose sight of this: God has a plan for you. And maybe you've heard that 1,000 times, so the statement isn't all that impressive, but let me say it again. God has a plan for you. And that plan doesn't depend on who you're dating or would like to date. God made you on purpose for a purpose. In fact, Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." This means that God made you and has something great in mind for you. And when you move your goals and thoughts away from God's plan and place them only on a person or relationship, you risk missing out on that plan. But here's the good news. As many times as Samson lost sight of God's purpose for him, God never gave up on Samson. God heard him and used him to do great things. And lucky for us, we've got the chance to figure this out now, because we can remember dating is great, but thinking is better. And we can start thinking in these 3 areas. Think about why you date. What's your purpose? Ask yourself this question and then answer honestly. Because the truth is, dating is fun and good, but it won't be fun or good if we have the wrong purpose for it. It isn't a way to prove something, climb a social ladder, or make yourself look good in front of others. It's a way to learn how to get to know someone and have fun. And with a healthy purpose, we're more likely to have healthy relationships. Think about who you date. It's tempting to want to go out with the first guy who asks you to boost your self-image. It's tempting to ask out the girl you know won't say no. But it's really smart to be picky when it comes to dating, because it'll save you a lot of trouble. Think while you date. When you find someone you love spending time with, that isn't the time to turn off your brain. It's the time to start using it even more. Ask yourself if things are in a healthy place emotionally and physically, and how much of your brain time is devoted to obsessing over this person. Process it out loud with another person, like your life group leader. Just don't turn off your brain. And as you head out, I want you to know that who you date and how you date have the potential to make or break your middle school and high school years. Not because dating is bad, dating is great, but only if you keep your brain engaged. So start thinking about how and what a healthy dating relationship looks like. Decide some things ahead of time. When you do, relationships will become a lot less complicated, and trust me, you'll be glad you did. And remember, dating is great, but thinking is better.